Yo guys, what's going on? Today, we're going to discuss Gley's Massacre builds. There'll be 2 of them. But before we get into the actual builds for the newer players, I would just like to demonstrate how this actually works, because there can be some confusion when you're new. So to begin, you would need to go into your Massacre state, which is your 1 ability. From there, you're going to use Massive Sanguification, which is going to give you your life spheres that will be needed to cast the actual Massacre ability. Then you can cast Massacre, your 4th, and now you have this up, but as you can see, you only have 3 shots. The thing is, when you use your 3 ability, this is going to give you an infinite ammo for a certain amount of time, like so. Now it'll last the whole duration. The thing is that you want a lower cooldown than the duration, so you can continue to cast it and constantly have this ability up. So let's get into the builds. The first build we will be looking at is what I call our Nuke build, and this is a all-in build. You get 1 use of Massacre, and that is it, because we are stripping our cooldown for as much skill power as possible. This build is going to be used for your first 4 hard mode bosses. We're still using Massive Sanctification. The big things here that are stripping the cooldown will be Maximize Power and Maximize Skill. As you can see with those, we will be unable to loop our increased sensory ability because it's on a 77-second cooldown. Basically, everything we have here is to maximize our duration and maximize our damage. Everything here is giving damage or duration. You can switch this up a little bit. You can just take these 2 out and put normal skill power mods, but if you're just looking to do the first 4 bosses and do as much damage as possible, this is exactly what I would select, because this is just going to melt them and your cooldown will not matter. Now, moving on to our more general Massacre build, we are still running Massive Sanctification for our blood orbs so we can cast our Massacre before the fight starts. We have our 2 cooldown mods here, our 2 duration mods, and the big thing here, like I said earlier in the video, is being able to loop your increased sensory. As you can see, I have a 7.9 second cooldown with an 8.8 second duration. Here, I'm choosing to run Dangerous Ambush over Walk a Tightrope. That would be more for something like Gluttony and Deathstalker. For the bosses under that, you could easily switch that to Walk a Tightrope, as where being at below half health won't be as risky, but in those other fights it is a lot more risky, and Dangerous Ambush is still a very good damage modifier. For our HP, we have Stim Accelerant. This is the best one to use. We don't have MP, and this is going to give you the most HP. Then we are running Focus on Dimension and Focus on Non-Attribute. These 2 are musts because of their cooldown. After that, we have Non-Attribute Amplification and Dimension Amplification. If you're doing something like Deathstalker, which I have done with this build, it is very hard though, you can take this out and give yourself a little more HP, but I will tell you, it does not make that big of a difference between the debuff and you draining your HP. It is very hard to take this build into Deathstalker, and it is something that I wouldn't suggest for anyone unless you know the mechanics very well, or you can bring a Eugen in with you to fight along. Moving on to our Reactor. This is the main one I run. The big thing here is the Colossus damage, of course, but skill cooldown is a must, or if you have duration, that also works too. For our all-in build, I will run something like this with Colossus damage and non-attribute skill power. For a set, it's Slayer Set at all times. Take your resistances, take your HP recovery modifier, your HP where you can. Consumable drop rate is very nice. Defense, resistances, more resistance. We don't have MP, so there's really not much to select here. Just all resistances, defense, and HP. Now, for our Python, firearm attack, bonus firearm attack versus Colossus, weak point damage, and the electric attack is to keep the debuff up on the boss at all times. As you can see when you're watching the kill videos of the bosses, I put the mods for the Python there, and with this setup I have here, I'm able to swap out the element that I want to the one that's going to match the boss, which is going to obviously optimize you to give you the most damage. As for our Inversion Reinforcement, there's really not too much great to pick here because the great options here are all involve MP, but I went with Biodensity Augmentation, which is going to increase our max HP when defeating an enemy. Arch Assimilation, which lasts for 2 seconds and recovers HP by 14% of max HP upon reaching max stacks. And Avoid Adrenaline, when HP is 20% or less during intercept battles, all movement speed plus 20%. None of these are really useful for the early bosses. They can come in handy though when you're trying to do that Stalker with this build. But once again, I will not suggest to do that Stalker with this build. Just use a Gley gun build with Executor and Enduring Legacy and Greg's. Build a bunch of HP. You're going to be much better off like that. Other than that, guys, thank you very much for watching the video. Hope this helped with your Gley builds. Any comments or suggestions about the builds, let me know in the comments, and look forward to me posting a video pretty much every day at this point. Like and subscribe if you can. Thanks, guys. Peace.